she's going to answer questions that we ask her. She's going to answer questions that we ask her. Okay, now Adele, can you think of any question that you've got?
Is it on?
Yeah, it's on. One thing that never runs out. It's a 3-hour tape. Okay, and then my mother, of course, is here, and she's going to give us some history of her family. Now, first, how did Grandpa and Grandma Olson meet? Or do you know?
Now, just that they lived in the same neighborhood, the west side of Salt Lake, down by the railroad tracks. And they lived there all their married life. No, until I came along.
Yes.
And they moved up on the east side of town and bought a brick house, which we called modern because it had a tub and a toilet and a basin. We thought it was really modern.
In fact, it had 2 bathrooms.
Did
right?
it?
Yeah. Yeah, it had 2 bathrooms. You mean the one up there?
Laird Avenue.
Oh, Laird Avenue. Okay,
Yeah,
Laird.
and,
Okay.
I went to the Emerson School, and my brother Bert went there. Now,
Then when did you move up to Holiday?
Tell who was in your family. You were born
in my
first.
family, I was number 1. Then I had a brother Bert. That was my grandmother's maiden name, Bert. And you see, right in the middle of things right now, I kind of forget.
Okay. Then after Bert came
After
Marion.
Bert was Pete.
Oh, was it Pete or
Pete,
Marion?
Pete.
Oh, Pete
And
came.
then Marion, and then Margaret and Dolores.
No, you forgot Don. Don?
Dawn.
Then
There were
Margaret.
8 of us, 4 boys, 4 girls.
That's right. Don came and then Margaret and then Dolores.
Yeah.
And Dolores is as old as Robert almost. Oh, a little older.
Yeah.
50 months older.
You were
15 months old.
twins. almost.
You're almost twins. Yeah.
And,
So-
and you went to what schools?
I went to the Emerson School,
That's grammar school.
grammar school, through the 8th grade. But I didn't want to go to kindergarten. I was afraid of the big boys.
No.
And I'd sit on my front step and watch the kids go by, but I never went to kindergarten.
Is that right?
I was too afraid of the big boys.
Oh, is that right? So you went right into 1st grade, but the big boys were in 1st grade? Or did they get little?
She was smart. She didn't
I
have
got
to-
more courage, I guess.
Yeah, you matured. She matured.
And then you went to what high school?
LDS High School was downtown, right next door to Hotel Utah, our only beautiful big hotel in those days.
You're still there.
And
Yeah.
I went there 4 years. With 4 years of, we had to have theology every day for 1 hour. And then we had a meeting of all groups.
Students. All the students, right?
Yeah, all the students, and if there was anybody famous coming to Hotel Utah, they get him to come in and talk to us. Some men were in the church and some were not, but it was quite a privilege to belong to that high school.
Yeah.
There were about, as I remember, 1,200
Student
boys and girls.
Wow.
And by that time, Gladys, you had moved to Holiday, so
Yes.
tell about how you used to get back and forth to the school.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'd ride in the morning at 7 o'clock with Grandpa. He worked at the post office all his life. From 19 till he died at 80, he was with the post office. Maybe those last years were
Retired.
retired. But let's see now, what else?
Oh, you used to ride with him?
Oh,
In
yes.
his truck.
In his truck. Well, the summertime and the spring was fine, but winter, oh, it was cold getting in those cars. He had
Yeah.
a nice Buick truck. He had to own his own truck. And he would heat bricks in the oven, 3 or 4 bricks, and take them in a gunny sack and put them where my feet went. And all the way uptown, I'd put my feet on those hot bricks. And it helped a lot.
Gladys, what are the best memories you have of your mom and dad when you were growing up? And your dad used to play the banjo and do that sort of
he
thing. Tell
was,
us about their personalities.
My mother was just quiet and retiring, but very religious. But my dad should have been in the theater. He was really a character. Robert will verify that.
Yeah,
Jack.
Sure.
He took,
Yeah.
did he ever take you kids fishing? He
Oh,
took
all
some
the
of
time.
his nephews.
Well, he'd take us up the canyon
All
every
of these
summer. Every
nephews.
summer of our life, we went up the canyon.
Yeah.
Yeah, remember
Little
that?
cottonwood, big
Right.
cottonwood.
Yeah, I know.
You see, their
Okay.
dad was always working in the bakery. And Grandpa was up here in Utah, Salt Lake.
Yeah.
So they knew him pretty well.
Remember, he went up to the canyon, and then when he came back, his prize mink
That killed us.
killed all the babies or something, you
Oh,
know?
he was upset.
Yeah, because they got hungry. And the mother ate or killed the babies.
Yes.
And 5 minks, you
I
know.
can't remember that. Where was
He
that?
had a mink farm. Oh,
Oh,
yeah, he
I
had minks.
remember the minks in a
Little
Okay.
cages, yeah.
cage.
I remember
And they
sticking my finger in.
smelled.
Yeah, I got
What
bit
would they
once.
nail it?
Oh, there, I know.
Gladys, didn't
And
he,
he'd feed him horse meat. Remember, he'd go to the, wherever
Yeah,
he
he'd
picked
buy
it
a
up and got
bucket
the horse,
full.
ground horse meat.
didn't he play on the stage at church quite a bit?
Oh, yes, they always had him in the minstrel shows.
Minstrel shows.
He was the colored boy that had a chum on the other end of the line, and they'd talk back and forth and make funny talk. But he could put,
And he played didn't he play the
he
harmonica?
played the guitar, a real Martin guitar.
I remember Aunt
And-
Marjorie
He played the,
laughing so
a
hard.
banjo.
She was on the
and
floor
then,
practically.
what did you call that other one?
Wonder if we ought to
Mandolin.
get that-
Play a
Get that
mandolin.
drum
Yeah,
line in
he
here.
was talented musically.
And he
was
used to
talented.
sing and make
Very
up
more
songs.
guitar,
and
everything.
Grandma, so
He
face
had
could
many
show up.
church
Get that
people
light.
real
That's
angry
right.
at
Yeah,
him.
it's right there on the floor.
But
in the
he
living
would
room.
make funny,
Where's the light?
funny words.
It's right there in
I
the
know,
living room
make up
floor.
What's, I'll never
See
marry
the
Mary.
cord, extension cord?
Because every time she combs her hair, the dust begins to fly.
He just had people listen.
I was just
Say right
making
on
up,
the floor.
you know, he'd make up these songs.
Some people got mad at him,
Yeah.
especially one man. He told a joke on how tight Mr. Brockback was.
Yeah.
And, oh.
Plug it in over here into the wall. there.
Really,
Not good enough.
well,
Yeah,
I'm
shine
not
it
going any farther.
up in the air
Oldest
like,
of the
yeah.
family, She knows more.
Yeah.
I'm the youngest and I don't.
You don't, yeah, that's right. You
Well,
don't.
Jim,
Gladys,
I'm not
A little
going any
bit.
further unless I have a contract signed.
Gladys, tell us a little bit more about your mother. I know she was really quiet, but she had 8 babies, so she
Yes.
was
Poor-
sort of busy.
I don't know if she wanted us all or not.
Yeah.
Who washed all the clothes
My
for
arm.
all those kids?
Margaret and Dolores were born in Holiday, and they had Dr. Sharanian for their doctor when the babies were born. And of course, I loved those 2 little kids,
Yeah.
Margaret and Dolores. Margaret's a nurse now, graduated from the hospital.
Yeah, she's an RN, right?
She's an
Margaret?
RN, has been RN for 35 years. And, what else?
Gladys, right after high school graduation, you went out to Garfield to teach school, didn't you?
Oh, yes.
Tell us just a bit about that.
Well, I'm cold.
Oh, yeah?
Bring your sweater.
Yeah.
I was in a group at the University of Utah, and it was called a one-year specialist group. You maybe got a school to teach, and maybe you didn't. But it came to be October, and the schools were real,
Starting up.
starting up. And the Dean of Education's clerk called me up, and she said, I'm calling because of the mark you got in our school, and they need a teacher out in Garfield. See, all the other kids didn't get a school, but I got one because I could play first grade music on the piano. And so we rode out with Mr. What was his name, the principal? Oh, anyway, he was in East Mill Creek. And the clerk says, he will meet you Monday morning, 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock, and take you out to Garfield. So that's what I did there. I was standing in the cold. It was October, so it wasn't too bad. But I taught that little first grade for for a year. But during January, February, and March, why Gladys Love was with me. She is Arch's cousin, her cousin, right?
Right.
And she was the second grade teacher. Well, we didn't want to ride back and forth in that cold, snow with the principal. So we got us a room in Emma's, I can't remember her last name. I'll call her Emma. But she was an ex-school teacher that had a husband and 2 children. And we rented a bedroom there for 3 months. But we'd go home on the weekends. And it was kind of colorful out there, the little foreign kids. I had a little Jap boy that he was thrilled to death if I'd ask him to wash the blackboard or clean the blackboard. And then a little Irene, I forget her last name, but she was either Chinese or Japanese, I didn't know which right now. And I took her home one night. I wrote a note with the little 6th grade sister. Could I take Irene home and keep her for a night? And the mother answered on another note and said, yes, I could keep her. So I took her to Holiday, and my 2 brothers, Jane and Don, were just fascinated by her because she could read a 5th grade book. And her sister and brother had taught her. And we just had fun with her for one night, and I took her back to school.
Can you tell us about when you and,
It's going.
Oh, is it moving?
Yes, Grandma,
Yes?
when did you decide to visit California? What made you decide?
When Gladys Love, the 2nd grade teacher, she was Arch's cousin, Virginia's cousin. And she said, let's go to California. And I said, well, my mother's sister's there too, and my cousins. So we decided to take our last paycheck, and we went on the old Yellow Way street. It wasn't a street.
Turn the light down.
It went clear to California.
Oh.
A
You
bus.
could turn on the other light too, I think that.
No, it's bright enough.
So,
So tell us
Now,
about
you
the
came
trip.
on the yellow car? You mean train?
On the bus.
oh, it was
Bus.
an old bus.
It wasn't the Trailways, was it?
No, it was a real cheapie.
Cheap, oh, no.
And you stayed overnight too, didn't you?
Yeah.
And we stayed 3 nights on the road. First night in Parowan, Utah, the next night the other side of Vegas, and the third day at 7 at night we got into Figueroa Street. And my dear aunt, mother's sister, had been waiting all day for that bus to come. And she left her 3 little boys home alone.
That was Aunt Mealy.
Yes, Aunt Minnie. She later worked in our bakery. Her husband died.
Okay, so you and Gladys Love stayed
Do
with
I have to have
Aunt
that
Mealy.
light?
Yeah.
can't see your face.
Oh, you can't
That's-
see my face.
Yeah, you and
And now
Aunt,
you can make it in 14 hours, and it took
Yeah.
me 3 days
I
you
know
two
it, now you
stayed
can
with
do that
Aunt
12
Mealy
hours.
then.
to drive.
Yes,
yeah.
I stayed with her, and Gladys Love stayed with
Yeah, the best.
you. Yes, she was here in California
So
now.
tell us about the first day that you met Arch.
Oh, that was fun.
Did you know you were gonna meet him before you came down?
She had told me on the way, I have the best looking cousin, and I know he'll show me a real good time around. But she didn't know that he spent 23 hours a day in the bakery.
Well, tell us the first
So-
time you laid eyes on
On Arch, well, I thought, well, I gotta see this cousin. So, my little brother Don, I took him on the trip with me. Because Mother needed to be relieved of one more child for a while. And, let's see, I got off the streetcar at Avenue 33 or whatever it was. And there I saw the bakery sign, Livingston Bakery. So I hopped in there, and there was a big barrel of shortening covered with clean aprons. And I was sitting on that barrel of shortening. And Arch poked his head around to see what I looked like. And we were going to go to the what farm was it? not turkeys, but
Ostrich farm.
ostrich farm down by the old county hospital. And Don wanted to see these funny things, birds. But anyway, then Arch backed out. He never said a word. He went back and took something out of the oven, I think, and he came out again. And he looked again. And Gladys says, "Oh, come in, Arch. This is my friend. That we're going to see the ostriches." And so he went back out again. And Gladys says, "Well, we'll walk up." But he came out and says, "If you girls will just wait a few minutes, I'll have everything out of the oven and I'll drive you up to the house," which was about 2 blocks. So he did that. He just covered that Ford coupe of his with the aprons that bakers wear and clerks. And
It was a Buick, huh? That
it
he
was a
drove.
Ford coupe, one of
Okay.
those all glass, you know, around
Uh-huh,
about a 19, I don't know what.
1926?
Yeah,
No, it was
this
before that.
This was 1926.
6.
So we got in the Ford, I think it was a Ford coupe, you know, and we rode up. He says, everything I own's got flour on it. And he didn't want us to have our dresses flowered. So he talked a little while and he says, "I go to sleep about now and get caught up if I can."
What
And
time was that?
that was about 12 noon right then.
And that's when he went to bed?
Yeah, he was all backwards, you know,
Oh,
he
yeah.
just started that place.
Oh,
He
yeah.
hadn't been in it long before he
No,
met you, had he?
no.
Now Gladys, that was the Glassell Bakery.
It was in Glassell Park, that was the name of the district. It was just a poor district, but not so poor as some.
And you were then about
I was 20,
20, and he was about 26.
26.
26.
Okay.
Um,
Now when did you kind of realize that he was really interested
Oh,
in you?
well, he sat in their living room and talked.
35, 36 years.
And he asked us what we were going to do and everything. Pretty soon he says, "I'd like to take you to a show. I can go on Saturday night." And I said, "Well, that's fine. Yeah, I'd love to." And so we went out of the house. We got on a streetcar to go take little Dawn to see the animals. And on the way, I said to Gladys, "Gee, I don't know what to wear. What are you going to wear?" And she says, "I'm not going with him. He didn't ask me to go." And I says, "Oh, sure, I don't want to go alone with him." He was so much older than my other little boyfriends. So, anyway.
He was an old man at 26.
Yeah.
So you
So
went with
We,
him and Dawn?
we rode with Gladys up there to her house, and then we hopped a streetcar and went clear out to Aunt Miley's. It was about 15 miles out there. And this was, say Monday or Tuesday, and so I had to wait till Saturday night. And we rode over to the Grauman's Egyptian. Yeah, that's the name of it. And there was a picture show there with Mary Pickford and Douglas Fairbanks.
What was the name of it?
Uh,
Can't remember.
The picture show?
Yeah.
Oh, it was in Hollywood, the new one,
Well, Grumman Chinese, right?
Grauman's Chinese, that
But you
was.
don't remember the name
Name
of
of the movie
The
itself.
movie
not the
was
theater.
Mary Pickford.
Yeah.
I don't think this was hardly in that theater. It wasn't built yet.
Uh-huh.
But there was another one that was
Uh-huh.
popular in Hollywood.
And changed it.
And so he kept on whispering to me. I thought, gosh. So,
What was he whispering?
well, he'd look at the picture for a while and he'd say something about picture. And then pretty soon he was saying, I don't like this picture of you, let's go. So I says, well, I don't care. He had such little time to go places, you know. And so we went, he took me home, and it was quite a ride, you know. And
Now, was little Don with you? Or were
no,
you, oh, you were alone?
he stayed with my aunt.
Oh, okay.
So I was back there, and he just went on home. He says, I'll see you again this week if I can. I says, well, fine. So I hadn't had a chum that old. I thought he was really old.
Yeah.
Well, then you, when did you see him again after that night?
Another night, he came on Sunday. And first night he was just a half hour late. And the next Saturday night, he was a whole hour late. But Aunt Mealy and Uncle Kill had taken me around in their car. We'd been riding just to see the town. And so then we got home. Well, I was in the kitchen helping her cook her roast. And here comes Malin. He was my darling nephew, about 9 years old. And he yelled, "Hi, Archibald, bald, bald." And, well, Arch he was old enough to know that kids are nutty. And so he just snickered.
Give us a description of Arch as you remember him then.
Well, I thought he was very good looking. He had real good skin, you know, and pretty blue-gray eyes, and some wavy hair, about not as dark as the baby's, it's more brownish red. And
He was pretty big too.
you
He was
know,
tall.
yeah, you either like him all at once or you don't, you know.
Yeah.
And
By this time.
Did you like them all? I mean, all at once?
well, I liked him, yeah. And I thought, gee, he's so much older than I am. I don't know what to do with him.
And you said, someday I'm gonna marry a man a lot younger than me. So to make up for it, right?
I just had a boyfriend that I liked to dance with,
At home, right?
Yeah. What was his name?
Brady Howard.
Brady Howard.
Yeah.
So,
And I saw his father one Sunday. He took me home. I'd never been in his home. And his father rolled his own cigarette, and he didn't have just some underwear on and a pair of pants. And I thought, gee, Brady will be just like that, I guess. So I don't want him.
Even
just
though he
wanted
can
to
dance,
dance
you know.
He was a good dancer, yeah.
Yeah.
But you know, I found out you can't dance through life with nothing to go with it.
To go with it.
So when did you and Arch decide to get married?
Well, oh gee,
Let's hear about the proposal at
Yeah.
Silver
yeah,
Lake.
oh gee, I'm getting weary.
Well, let's hear about the Silver
He
Lake.
Silver
kept
Lake.
making dates, you know, and one night we went down, I guess they call it Lover's Lane, and a policeman came and stood right by the Ford coupe. And he said, oh, don't worry, I'm not arresting you. He says they've had bad trouble with people robbing people that were parked here. Just parked, talking, and more sense than these kids I've been going around with.
I remember when you went back, he was so lovesick. Oh,
Was he?
He'd write a letter every day.
Yeah.
I've got him.
yeah, tell us what you remember there then. You really,
Yeah, I was about 15, I think, and I don't
Yeah, you were.
remember. You told me a lot of things that, you know,
And Gladys Love was a pal to you
Yeah.
for all that time. Was it? Did we stay about 2 months?
yeah, I think it was quite a little while.
It went into September and October, and school had started.
And you're supposed to be back teaching?
And what?
You were supposed to be teaching and you were still
Yes.
here?
Oh, I got there on time.
Oh, you got there.
Virginia, how old were you when you and Grandma and Arch came down to Los Angeles?
11.
You were
11, 1922.
And how old was Arch then?
He was 11 years older.
11 years
So
older
he
than
would be-
you?
Well, he was born in
Just 22.
1900, so
He
you
was
could always
22.
figure his
Yeah,
age.
that's right, yeah.
So Virginia,
Yeah.
before we get into the marriage part, then can you just tell us a little bit about your life at home with your mother? What she was like and, you know,
You're
like
talking
Arch
to her?
working in Royal
Yeah.
Bakery and that sort of thing.
Yes,
Didn't you
I
go
can
to work?
remember
Do you
slightly
remember
some of
that?
those things. I know we weren't very rich, but our mother didn't let us think we were poor. We had a nice life, and considering.
And you lived
And,
where? Tell us where
Yes,
your
you
home
should
was.
know.
Oh, yeah. The one I remember was on 3rd South and 2nd East in Salt Lake. It's kind of close to town. And I remember when Arch got the first car we ever had, I was about maybe 9 or 10. And, oh boy, did we think we were the Vanderbilts. And one of these old Fords, when it rained, we'd have to put up the curtains so the rain wouldn't get on us. And let's see. Oh, I remember when I was kind of a sickly kid, and every time I was sick, Archie come home with a box of chocolates for me. I think that's why I was ill so often, I don't know. But he was so thoughtful, it was like a father. He was a
You
father
should have been
to me.
his sister.
It was nice that he was the oldest one
Yeah,
in
he
the
was
family.
concerned with all the other rest
So
of the
he had 5 little sisters, didn't he?
Well, Arch was 3rd.
That's
I had
right.
a sister Jean that died at 12. and then there
Name
was-
your sisters now for the record.
Well, Jean, she was 12. She died when she was 12. And then
And
there
wasn't
was-
it right after she died that your daddy left?
Oh, no, I was just 2 months old. No, excuse, the dates here, I forget when the older sisters could tell more about this than I
But
could.
first there was Elizabeth.
Elizabeth, or no, Jean.
Jean.
Oh, Jean
And
was
then
died.
Jean, and then Elizabeth and Arch, and then twins. And then I was down 8 years
Okay,
from
the
the
twins
next.
were Margie
and
Bert,
Margaret.
and Margaret
Scott.
Scott. And Elizabeth's last name was
Burkhart.
Burkhardt.
Uh-huh.
Which was German.
Yeah, she married.
But you don't remember Jean then?
No, I think I died, I was born about 4 years after she died.
4 years
Uh-huh.
after, I see.
And
And what made you decide to come to California?
my mother had gone down about a year before, she and Elizabeth, and they liked us so well. Those winters, my mother was anxious to get out because she was sort of the head of the house. Arch was too when he could, but he worked long hours, and stoking a furnace, my mother. So then I guess we moved down about a year or 2.
Where did you
Bag
move
and
to?
baggage.
Where-
Well, we went to San Francisco first because Margaret, one of the twins, she had gone down there before, and then we were going down to LA where my mother's brother lived.
Her brother, what was his name?
Uncle Erastus Burt.
Oh,
And the trip to California, I can remember, was something.
Tell us a little bit about it.
Well, we started out, and there was no road maps at that time. And we just kind of went in the direction we were supposed to go, as far as I can remember. And pretty soon we didn't have a road. We didn't know where to go, but the railroad was going the right direction, so we got on the tracks. And we rode along on the railroad tracks. So then finally we saw a place to get down. It was getting late, so we had a tent, pitched the tent. We was all in the tent, and boy, here come a roar. There's a train going by.
oh my God.
So, I wish I could remember. I know there was a lot of cliffs we went around, and I was afraid of heights, and I'd get down in the car and start praying. I was so frightened. It was just rickety roads, and nobody around, just a wilderness. Could have been the
How many
Sahara.
days did it take you?
A week to get to San Francisco.
1 week.
Camp every night.
Yeah. Well, we came 4 years after you. You were really pioneers.
So you came down in what year then, Virginia?
That was 22, August 22.
What ward did you go to when you got down here? Wasn't there just
We had to
Adams
go to
Ward?
West Adams Ward. Was it a mission?
No, it was actually a ward that, my dad was in the ward in
Really?
1922. He came down in 21.
Yes, we had to travel about quite a ways to get to church.
Oh, boy,
You
yes, you
did.
did.
Then did you ever go to Wilshire Ward?
Yes, that was the next.
Uh-huh.
Then we came out to Glendale and
And what did Arch do when he first got down there? Did he buy a bakery right off?
he worked for a man named Mr. Walker, and Arch's brother-in-law, my sister's
Where
husband.
was this, Mr. Walker's?
It was sort of down in L.A.
And it was a bakery?
A bakery,
But he had worked for Royal Bakery in Salt Lake.
Yes,
hadn't he?
Sugar
uh-huh.
And just to back up a bit, didn't he go to work when he was 12 for Royal Bakery, or do you remember
I believe he
that?
was a little
He
bit
must have
older.
not gone to
Not much.
school.
Maybe
but he
not
didn't
much, 13
go
or
through
14.
high
He went to
school.
the 6th grade.
Uh-huh.
Mhm. And then I think, yeah, he went right to Royal Bakery, as I remember. And, so I guess he must have worked there at least. I'm sure he worked there the whole time till he went to California.
And then you remember when he purchased the Glassell Bakery, or when he
Uh,
started it, I mean?
Let's see, we had been, we lived up in a part of town called Boyle Heights
Uh-huh.
for a while after we got here. And then till Arch moved, then decided to move out in this Eagle Rock district, Marguerite Street, where he built a house. Forgot to put doors in it. He had to, he never built anything in his life, and there was some windows missing and a door.
That was the
Where
little
it's supposed
house
to
on
be.
Marguerite
In the
Street.
Yeah.
rear.
So he purchased that lot and then
Yeah.
bought the little house. And your mother and all of you lived in that little house then?
Well, by that time, my sister Elizabeth was married, and Margaret was married. It just left Arch and Marge, and so my mother left.
Your other sisters, the twins met their husbands in Los Angeles, did they?
And Margaret met hers in San Francisco while she was up there.
I see.
Uh,
Oh. And, so you lived in that little house and then,
They're, you know,
Then Jack was born.
well, and then, but you're not married quite yet, almost.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
Then you remember Gladys coming into the picture then. And did Arch have girlfriends before? Did he date much before?
not much. I think he did when he's in Salt Lake, when he had a little better hours, I guess.
Wilma.
Oh, he had one, I remember Wilma. But see, now the others could tell you more about that. The older sisters, but they could.
But it was actually Grandma Eleanor, your mother, that decided they were gonna move to California because of the weather. The weather was
And I
much
think
better.
the rest of the family is in agreement. You know, the wages in Salt Lake were so low and so hard to get work that they tried their
Didn't
luck.
Margaret work in a big
Keith
store?
O'Brien's,
A big
for
store.
$5 a week.
Yeah, that was in
And,
Salt Lake. That's where my girlfriend
Oh.
went. $5 a week.
Yeah.
And well,
And you know, Elizabeth and Marjorie worked at
oh, magnesium hydroxide, you call that for upset
Yeah.
stomachs.
a dairy, and they got
Okay.
60 a week.
Put that down.
I can't.
Magnesium hydroxide is,
you
oh,
girls
yours.
want to look at
You wanna know just
some
the acid
little
ones
pictures
or the base?
that you'd probably like to see.
Okay, let me look at a few of those, and then why don't you tell now about, I'd like each of you to talk about when you got married.
I just wanted to get them born here.
Well, let's get married first.
Let's get married first.
Okay, so you decided to,
Oh, no, did I fail to put that package in? Let's see.
I know Arch never wanted to give Gladys a gift, and he wanted to go back himself, but he didn't have time to do it, you know, so
so after
he was gonna have me go back and give her, I think, a watch or something. He was afraid to get broken, and I was go back to
Oh.
Salt Lake and deliver the watch.
He was just giving me more presents, a beautiful watch and Kodak, and so I could take pictures to send to him, because Kodaks were kind of scarce those days. But here's some little pictures of them. Of course, you don't have them born yet, huh?
no, we're not.
It's Arch, and one of Arch and Robert as a little kid.
Okay, we'll wait on that.
When did you decide to get married? After he came up to Salt Lake to meet your parents?
Yes, to meet my parents.
Did he
Well-
propose there?
Yeah, he says, Well, he told me when I went home, if you keep on going with your old beau, I'm not gonna write to you or anything. He says, do you want to get married? And I thought, gee, there's nobody that good in Holiday. And so I said yes. And so here's the picture of when I met him there. Robert and
The picture we can't get it to
Oh,
show
well,
yet.
wait a
We'll
minute.
have to show the pictures toward the end when we can zero in on them.
you can see him now.
So when you got married, then where did you live after you got married?
We lived in the little brown house.
Where did you get married?
Oh, we were married right in Bishop Quist's house. I know he thought it was a shotgun.
In Los Angeles?
Yeah, he was our
Los
bishop,
Angeles.
no, our bishop in
Oh,
Holiday.
In Holiday.
And he had just moved into a new house, a brand new house. And he says, I can't marry you like this, I'll have to go upstairs and get cleaned up. So my brother Bert was with us, and Caroline, my good friend, was witnesses. And, but, you know, the bishop, he never had any children. And I don't know, he thought we were sure speedy, I guess.
And so then, did you come right back down to Los Angeles?
Yeah, we got
after?
on a train the next day. We just invited Aunt Belle and Aunt Eva and Caroline's folks. And
See if it's still on both of them.
it was the
Just maybe
smallest,
just turn it on, right, or something.
smallest
Did you move
wedding
that
you
over?
could ever
Just let
imagine.
Gladys move over.
No, just, you can just do this.
So you packed all your things then and came down to Los
We got
Angeles?
on the train,
Uh-huh.
and my cousin had filled my hat rim with rice. And
Oh,
I was in the restroom, and two ladies came in, they said, "Are you sure somebody just got married around here, because the car's full of rice." And, it was the smallest wedding I ever went to.
so what did you do while Arch was working then? Did you work
Oh,
down here or?
Well, no, I just stayed up in the little brown house,
Uh-huh.
and I'd go down and wait on people, you know, for a while. What else did I do? Anything?
You did
You
all
were
the bookwork.
15.
You did all the bookwork, didn't you?
Yeah, I had to start my bookkeeping.
Bookkeeping.
Uh-huh.
So,
And then you started having your children.
yeah,
Did, your oldest boy, Robert, did you have him when you still lived in that little brown house, or did
Yes,
you build the big
yes.
house?
I was married the 7th of January, and December 20th, he was born. And we were in the little brown house, and Grandma helped me. I says, "Gee, I really don't know anything about this," even though I had younger sisters and brothers. Mother and the lady she used to hire took care of the things.
Robert was born at the French hospital, wasn't he?
The French hospital, and the nurse used to kiss him all the
27.
time when she'd bring him in on the cheek, and I thought, Laws knows where she was last night. I don't want her kissing my baby.
This was 1927 then, that you got married and
December
Robert was
20th, yeah.
So, and then you had Jean, what?
In 13 months.
13 months later, you had Jean. And
She
then,
was the pretty baby,
pretty little girl.
yeah.
When did you build the house then?
In front, Jack was born, 3rd.
So you had 3
And-
children before you
yes,
built the
3,
house?
and Art says, he tried to figure how he could do a big living room and still hook it onto the back house. But I started to bawl, and I said, "You'll just have a patch up the job. And I want you to build a separate house down here." I think, of course, I didn't know anything about money and paying for things. But he thought it was a good idea, so he talked to Mr. Evans up the street, who was a real good architect. And he drew up plans for a nice Spanish house, and it's still there today. The material in it was just beautiful, the tiles
You remember?
and the hardwood. It went around
I remember
that
back.
style till you got to one little board in the middle. And we had a fireplace with Indian heads on each side. You remember those Indian heads? And it was a very good house, 3 bedrooms, 2 baths. And 2 baths in that neighborhood was very rare. Glassell Park was just almost less than medium class.
So, what school did your kids go to there?
What's it called, Astera Avenue?
Estera Avenue.
Which
Robert
became
broke
known as
his
Fletcher
ankle.
Drive.
Oh, yes, it was.
Tell them how you broke your ankle
Oh,
doing the
dear.
polka.
Well, this is your story, Grandma.
Well, tell me how I broke my ankle.
You were in the 1st grade,
Uh-huh.
and your teacher didn't realize you were hurt, really hurt.
I jumped down a flight of steps to go to the
kept him
bathroom, and I
dancing.
lit on my ankle. Just twisted it. I could hear it pop, just like a twig, a branch.
That was a La Cañada, wasn't it?
No, that was in Fletcher Drive, Illinois.
Oh, you jumped too, and La Cañada and did the same thing. Remember going down the steps to the cafeteria?
Yeah, but it was, I kept, after I sprained that ankle, broke that ankle, I twisted it many, many times. I must have really stretched the ligaments.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
I was always twisting.
Well, Grandma, your bakery was very successful, wasn't it?
Oh, yes, all the neighbors, all the people in the village were buying there. But it's no wonder he had such good prices, you know.
Uh,
And
Quality
my
and
doctor
price.
that delivered the first 2 children said, Arch, you should move to a better district and get what your goods is worth, you know, your bakery goods. He'd have eclairs, 2 for 15. But of course, everything was cheap.
So what made you decide to move to La Cañada?
Well, one day, little Jean was about 6, and she was down on the the street where you walk along, and our house was up on a hill, and she was after a ball she dropped, and it ran out in the street, and here came a kid in a coupe just swept around there, just so fast, and she was trying to get that ball at the same time, and she nearly got killed.
Jay Olson, your brother, saved her life.
Did he?
He ran out and grabbed her before the car
Oh.
got there.
And Art says, this is the last, we're not gonna live here anymore. So every Sunday we'd go out and look for a farm, we call it. And over there, where's the cemetery?
Glendale?
Glendale Cemetery?
No.
Forest Lawn?
Forest,
No,
yeah,
it was
Forest.
on the way down here to your house,
Glen Haven.
Glen Haven.
It was right, yeah, up there on Foothill Boulevard,
Oh,
you saw
yeah.
some property.
So,
But you didn't like, he
so
didn't
she
like
lived,
that.
well, anyway, we didn't like anything there. It was, they had horses and things, but they were kind of out of our line then. But, let's see, we went up to, the next Sunday, we went up to the La Cañada. I said, let's go look at La Cañada because it reminds me of Salt Lake.
Didn't you have some Garretts, some
Yeah,
friends you knew up there?
and they were out sitting on the lawn when we came by. That's Glenn Garrett and his wife, and they said, oh gosh, move up here, you'll love it up here. And so, she says to Arch, there are better houses here and people are educated and earn money and can afford those houses. So, one of the real estate men that Arch had contacted called up the house and he says, I have an acre of land on Hill Street in La Cañada, and I'd love to show it to you because it's in a nice district. So Arch sent me up. He always was tied to that bakery. He could hardly, leave it. So anyway, there we went up to see the acre of land, and it's the one we bought. $1,800, $1,800.
For an acre.
Oh,
In that
What,
district.
were there trees on it? Were there orange
no,
trees
not
then,
many
or-
trees, some
Nothing.
little scrub oaks,
Scrub oak.
and you got poison,
Oleanders.
Poison oak.
poison oak and poison ivy. They were
Remember
itching
that?
and everything.
there was that kind of Drew Canyon, looked like a little canyon there.
Yeah, and you were down in
Yeah,
those
down in
weeds.
there. There were two sections of Scrub Oak,
How
up on
did
the
you
north
meet-
and on the south.
How did you meet Nephi Anderson to have him build the house?
Well, let's see,
One for the same
what did
one.
Arch get mad at Nephi for?
Missing
Well, it's not
vents and
Oh,
things.
yeah, Nephi drew up the, what do you call it, when they're in the book, 16 pages of
Plans.
plans. And I said, we don't want a fireplace. We'll
Oh.
be having a lot of Mormons holding meetings in the big living room, and I want a big room with no fireplace. So that's what he made.
A lot of Mormons.
Then he says, for $800, about 800, I can build you a nice bedroom and half bath upstairs. So we had a great big room, and they built their airplanes
Up there,
up
our
there.
airplanes.
Sawdust and paper and tin foil, what was it all you had there?
Yeah, and airplane glue and
Yeah.
dope. Remember airplane dope? We were always spilling it.
Grandma, you were active in the church up there. What
Yeah.
positions did you hold in the church in La Cañada?
Well, in Glendale.
It was Glendale East
first,
Ward.
East Ward. I was head of the primary.
How many years?
I held every job in the primary except leading the singing, and that was the one I wanted. Not that I knew
How many years
how.
were you primary president?
Primary president.
You served several years as primary
Yeah.
president.
And
Was-
this boy would hide in the bushes.
Robert would hide.
With Glenn
Do I have to go today? And I says, as long as I'm holding a job in the primary, you're going. And then the Sunday, everybody had to go to Sunday school, but that's the one morning that Arch just relaxed and had a big nice bowl of postum
Yeah, with coffee in it.
with a little coffee in it.
Yeah, his Hills brothers.
Yeah, Hill Brothers.
He would go back and he worked 6 days a week then at this time.
6 days.
In the bakery.
And then
long
cleaned it
hours.
out.
So
on
he had to
Sunday.
clean the bakery, but as soon as King Mantell came to work for him, he hired.
And Joe Van Hosen cleaned it out too.
Oh, yes, Joe was a nice boy, big tall boy with red hair.
Yeah.
He'd clean all the pans after school. But on Saturday morning, these boys were supposed to clean the pans.
Yeah, we would clean
And
the pans.
they'd go to a show. I took them to a show Friday night in Montrose. And I couldn't get them up in the morning. They didn't want to get up.
You know,
Sleep
there's
on.
something that I should tell about
Yeah.
Arch for the record that was
Yeah.
told to me that you wouldn't know. When I went to get my temple recommend when Jack and I were getting married, my bishop was Lyman Pinkston.
Oh,
And-
Lyman.
And he told me, he said, you're marrying Jack Livingston. He said, I knew Jack's father. He owned a bakery down in Glassell Park. And he said, when I was on my mission, my mother would go to the bakery to get bread. And Mr. Livingston gave her $5, and this was during the Depression, and said to send it to Lyman on his mission. So he was really impressed with Arch.
My
He says he
sister Marion was
generous.
thoroughly in love with Lyman
Pinkston.
Pinkston.
Really. But that tells
But she
a little
never
bit
had
about the personality
Yeah,
of
and
Arch.
Arch, he was not tight, far from
Very
it.
charitable.
Yeah.
He's-
But he didn't dance, right?
He couldn't dance.
He tried, he took lessons. He wasn't meant to be a dancer. We had a long hauling. He and Harry were learning to dance. He was going with Marge, Harry
Was
was.
he?
So they wanted to learn to dance, and it was so funny. They'd play the old Victrola that you grind up, and they'd waltz something and do up and down that hall, but they never made it.
I'd like to have been there.
It was so funny. This is when we first got to California.
I like to kiss him
His grandma.
right by this
His
little
grandma.
ear. Could I kiss you
Now,
by
this
the
is
little
we
ear?
might mention that this is a great grandchild of
Yes.
mother's.
Isn't
Green
that
hair.
pretty?
Could you join me look in there and see that like this for a minute?
Kelsey Sherman.
Now,
Now
tell everybody how I was smarter than my two brothers.
Yes. What did you do wrong?
Nothing. I was the best student.
So I'll tell about
Yeah.
the day that he
Like
scared
getting
his
your
dad
eyes.
and mother to death.
Oh, yes, once.
When Gladys was in the
We
primary.
were coming home from primary, and she stopped in Glendale.
Oh.
And we all got out of the car, and I was looking at shoes in the window, I think, right off of Brand Boulevard.
Grocery store there.
And I don't know what it was, but I was looking in a window, and when I turned around, the car was gone. And so I walked all the way from Glendale, all the way to the bakery. That would be about 5 miles at
Yeah.
least.
Keith
And he
didn't
was
get
7
left out
years
the
old.
tree.
Harry,
No.
Harry Hunt had the shoe repairer,
Yeah.
and we were calling for
That's
our
it, shoe
repaired
repair.
shoes. And we left him looking at a bakery, not a bakery, a jewelry window.
Jewelry window.
He was looking, and we just went on without him. We went over to Glendale Avenue.
Yeah, and you were going up to La Cañada, and you
I-
stopped at the Cherry Sisters. Remember the Cherry
Well,
Sisters?
I stopped there to get some meat for supper.
And you looked in the ice box for me.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
couldn't
What in
find
the
it.
freezer?
I thought that was
No, he got
Oh, that was
locked in
me.
the.
I was locked. Oh,
I thought he was locked in
In
the
the
trunk.
freezer.
Take count after that.
But
Count
he
them all, see if
walked
they're-
from Madame Gucci's new store.
Yes, I remember
From
that.
there, clear over to the bakery.
and it was dark when I got there.
Oh.
Wow, that
And I walked by
I
and
was
looked
nearly
Yeah.
crazy. I thought some
How did you
wild
go?
man had
What
stolen
way did you
him.
go?
Right
And
down
then he
Oh.
walked into the bakery
Glendale
and Art
Boulevard,
said what?
and it goes, yeah, Glendale Boulevard to Fletcher, right? Then left on Fletcher,
And you saw Elizabeth's
and
house.
Elizabeth's house, then turned right by Fletcher Grammar
Yeah,
School,
you
went
knew where to
around.
go. You knew
You
where to
should have
go.
stopped at Elizabeth's.
How old were you?
7.
6 or 7.
7.
Yeah, it was just
No,
for
you were 8.
8. I was in La
Wow.
Cañada,
Oh.
so about 8 years
So
old.
tell about when you walked into your dad's bakery and he
Oh.
was already very nervous.
Oh,
He
yeah.
had a call stating
Well, I
he was-
called him up and I said, Arch, I've lost Jack.
And he says, you shouldn't have so many children.
Yeah,
He says,
you shouldn't go anywhere if you have some.
You should stay home once in a while. Yeah, stay home. Well, anyway, I was just silly, you know. Oh, I couldn't think of, and I called Wally Sparman. He was a Forest
by
Lawn
there.
salesman.
Getting ready, huh?
He was in
How
our
many
ward.
small caskets, about 8 years old?
No, he came over and tried to help me. He looked in each one of those little stores. One was a photographer's
I
store,
remember him
and
coming
a
over.
grocery store, and a gas station, but no Jack. Oh, so did I call the police station?
I think you did. I think you called the police.
You called the police. Oh,
but
you bet
anyway,
you
the
called
police gave me
Yeah.
the message that my boy had been taken to his father's home of business and
Yeah.
that he was safe.
You walked.
I walked.
Now
He
tell what
walked
your dad
every
did when you walked.
Bit of the way.
Well, I think he just called up Mother. Said, well, he just walked in.
Oh, when I
Yeah,
called him
that's-
first,
He
and
didn't
I
say
said, I've
anything.
lost Jack, I guess. He says, well, you should stay home, you know, when you
Yeah.
got so many kids, stay home.
Well, you were coming home from primary, so you.
Yeah.
So anyway, he walked in.
I had a
I
car
walked
full.
in.
We went clear up to Wilma Morgan's house.
Yeah.
Do you remember the walk?
Yeah. Oh, vaguely, you're just going down. I said, I know this is the right way. See, once I got to Fletcher Drive, then I knew.
Yeah.
But I-
Jack, I remember a story about you, after high school graduation, you got left behind and
Yeah.
walked home.
Yeah, high school graduation.
We thought he was, Arch and I thought he was with
At the Rose Bowl. Remember the Rose Bowl where you
Yes.
graduated?
his
And
friend Erickson or what?
Hendrickson.
Hendrickson.
Jimmy Hendrickson.
I thought you'd gone with Hendrickson's. Hendrickson's thought he'd gone with his parents, and he walked home from there.
Yeah. Did I walk all the way?
You did.
Or no, I think I called you from a gas station.
He was getting smarter.
Yeah, I was
Good
getting
call.
smarter then. I said,
Didn't you
Rose
leave
Bowl.
Keith
Graduated
up a
at the Rose
walnut
Bowl.
tree though?
Oh,
Yeah.
that was a little later. He was left up a walnut tree. Well,
Oh yeah, there
I
was a
look in
walnut
the
tree
car.
at church. Remember?
Two of them.
It
Yeah.
was full of kids, so I thought mine was one of them, you know, 2 of them. And poor little brother Peterson, he was such a little sweet. And I went, after I left Wilma Morgan's, she said she hadn't seen him. And so we went over home and called up the church. And little brother Peterson says, he talked, yeah, I have a one boy here. I can't talk Swedish, but maybe he is the one you want. And
Sure
I
enough.
called Arch and I says, he's at the church, so call on the way home. And little Peterson went on with his sweeping,
But
So,
now this is something we should all hear. When we went to the beach, Mother had a way so we wouldn't drown in the ocean.
Get lost.
She would tie a rope around each one of our ankles. And we'd go out in the water and that rope would wear into our skin and it'd start hurting. And she would hold all 5 ropes, we were out there.
No, one rope.
Was it one rope?
Yeah, we were tied in succession like
Oh,
Christmas.
so if one went down, we all went
The first
down.
one went down, we'd all
All
go down
drown.
and drown.
Forgot I
Yeah.
brought some red ribbon.
It was clothesline rope. And you had a red ribbon so you could see us go under,
Yeah,
right?
so I could see how far you went.
We're out there. Remember that? You didn't do it after that one time though. Yeah.
Most of the beach trips were with Gladys and not Arch, right?
That's right. Hermosa Beach,
Hermosa
wasn't it?
Beach.
Hermosa Beach.
And on the way
That's
home,
where we went once a
we'd
week.
always get golden bantam corn.
Coming home, wasn't it?
And,
Golden Bantam. Oh, that was good after swimming. Oh, did it taste good?
Yeah,
so Nancy then was born after you moved to La Cañada.
yes.
1938.
She was born,
1938.
we moved in, and she was born about 3 weeks later.
That's right. We moved in June. She was born in July.
Who was with
38.
you? Was it Marion and Cherie and Craig? No.
No,
It was,
Marion was down.
Marion and Dolores? Dolores?
And Eldon was called in the army, but he never.
Never went.
Never had
Okay,
to
that
go.
was, a little later on during the
And,
war.
So
Oh.
Arch was real thrilled with Nancy, wasn't he? He took a
Oh,
lot of movies
oh.
over.
Yeah.
She'd call him up every night about 6 o'clock and she'd say, Daddy, bring me home 6 donuts and some, what else?
She lived on the line.
Jelly rolls.
She'd go to O'Reilly's Drug and I want a funny book, And
She may put in her order.
O'Reilly's Drugstore. Oh, I can remember
what are
that.
you whispering?
Just laughed at something. It was about Nancy, that's okay.
And what donuts Nancy didn't eat, Trixie, our dog, would eat.
Yeah, when they turned to stone, then.
Yeah,
Trixie
then
would get-
yeah, when they
She'd
turned to
bury
stone,
it.
we'd get, I know, then he'd bury it.
Intermission.
Okay.
Intermission.
Robert, you know how to turn
No, I don't. Yeah, I do.
Shoot,
Unplug it.
you've got a thick
Oh,
pad
it's
under
going.
this,
That's just the light.
That's just
haven't
light.
you?
Oh,
It's a
boy.
thick pad.
Let's see if I can shut
Real
this off.
thick.
I lose my,
Yeah, it's just the light.
Don't trip over the
oh,
cord, Robert.
no, it's bright. I guess we scared the 2 men
gotta
away.
There's gotta be a shut
They
off.
got tired of our-
Jack, do you know how to shut that off?
No, where's
Jim?
Jim?
Yeah?
Oh, is it still going?
I guess I'll go to.
Yeah, it's still going.
Yeah, you shut off the camera.
Where's the switch?
Yeah.
Here, Grandma.
Just push this.
Man.
There it is.
Let me see
Now you
her.
got it on.
Well,
40.
let's see great grandma.
This is about 1940, but first,
This is Jane Burt Dick from Scotland. She lived as a young girl and died in Salt Lake City. She was my mother's mother.
oh, let me see. Oh, yeah.
Is that the one I had in your room?
Sit here, hold you.
No, I had that in my secretary.
Jack, hold that up
It was
again.
on the wall.
Okay.
Marion wants me to give that back
Okay,
to
now
her.
tilt it a little bit.
But,
That's good,
she
right
didn't
there.
part with it.
I was just thinking about the chickens in the bakery.
Oh, the chickens.
Now that's the great, was it great?
In the back bedroom.
Great great grandmother.
That's Nora Olson's mother.
Mother.
Yeah.
And her
On
name
my
is what again?
mother's side.
Her name is what again?
Okay.
Jane.
James Dick.
There, now don't fall on that.
Bert. Bert was her
That's a girl.
married name.
There's your Susie.
She was from Edinburgh.
Edinburgh.
Uh-huh.
Okay, now
Okay, we're
let's
going.
talk about the chickens.
Let's hear about the chicken story.
In the back bedroom.
Okay.
Okay. We had a chicken coop, but it wasn't ready yet to receive the chickens. So my dad had ordered these about 850 to 1,000
1,000
chickens
chickens.
from Sears Roebuck. and he presumed they were gonna come later than they did, but they came early. And so they called up and told him to come and get the chickens, that they had no way to store them or keep them. And so he picked them up in his car and brought them home. And so they might survive the first night, we put them in the bedroom in one of our houses. I mean, in our house, the back bedroom. And those chickens were wall to wall, all over the floor, peeping all night long.
But they were in little boxes, remember, with
Little
holes.
boxes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we bought water for each one. And in the morning, we found 20 or 30 dead that were trying to get to the water, didn't make it.
Yeah,
They were trampled. So we lost about 30 the first night.
So the day before, I was working frantically on a place to put them, so I finished the next day and we got them out in the chicken coop. And we had brooders, large incubator type lights that would keep them warm. And most of them survived. We lost about 200.
Yeah.
And, chicken
And,
pies, huh?
We had, I would kill about 10 chickens every day of my life when I would
That's
get
right.
up. And my
That's right.
dad would take them to the bakery and make chicken pie out of them. Boy, they were delicious.
But he would sell them too, to customers,
Yeah,
remember?
we would sell
Direct.
chickens. Yeah, direct. And then we had an egg ground. We had these little wooden boxes. Permanent boxes we could put our eggs in, and we'd go up and down the street and sell eggs to the neighbors.
What was Arch like as a boss in the bakery what was his personality like in directing?
Well, they always would have stories to tell. He got along real well with his workers, and they liked him a lot. The bakers
Ball
did.
them out once in a while.
Once in a while you'd have to ball them out. They'd put sugar or salt in the cake instead of sugar sometimes. I remember King Mantell put a whole bunch of salt in a cake mix, and they had to throw the whole thing out. No, they diluted it. They kept diluting it. Rather than waste it, they kept
Adding.
adding
To a new batch, huh?
to it. But it was, I can still hear the sounds of that bakery and those pans and the oven going around. And my dad used to stand at the oven and he would look in and be kind of mesmerized with the things going around, and he would always twirl the catch that held the handle that held the oven door closed, and he would twirl that thing.
I remember that. He'd twirl it,
Yeah.
spin it,
Just
to hold it closed.
Yeah, it's just.
You had to keep the door closed. And one time, a church came in, it was a Presbyterian church, and said, could you bake these hams? And there must have been 30 of them. So Dad, after he got everything out of the ovens, he put these hams in the one oven and started turning, and then the grease started to drip, and it started a fire in there, and it was burning, and I can remember going out and seeing the smoke coming out the chimney. Boy, they got smoked ham, literally. And I can remember the grease was just on fire, but it didn't make any difference. He just kept the door closed and let them bake.
Tell about some of the things that happened around the La Cañada house.
We
had BB gun fights.
in 1940, or was it 39? Yeah. 1938, we got cowboy boots. The next year, we got BB guns, a Red Ryder BB gun. And the other boys got a couple of other kinds of guns, BB guns, though. But we got to be awfully good shots with those things.
I know it.
We could hit anything with them.
Bill
Yeah.
Reno, he
Yeah.
got hit.
And the poor neighbor got shot once or twice.
The neighbor?
Windows.
Yeah, the neighbor.
Yeah, we hit their windows.
But
I
not the
remember my
neighbor.
cousin Harold Burkhart, about 2 years after we got the gun, we were down at the bakery and I brought the gun down. And we were in the back alley there behind the bakery, and we were shooting out a window of the old market, King's Market.
Remember?
And it had been abandoned by then, and we were just shooting the last bit of the glass out of it. My dad came out and saw what we were doing, and he took that gun and just smashed it, all of them, both of them.
Two of them, yeah,
Two of
two of them.
yours
Mine
and
was saved, yeah.
Oh, yours was saved.
It was back in La Cañada, yeah.
That ended our career.
And he hurt his hand, remember? He cut his hand bashing him over
Oh,
the
yeah.
incinerator.
Oh, he was mad.
Oh, yeah, he finished those suckers off.
Tell us
Maybe
about,
it's a good thing, we still got our eyes.
Yeah. we definitely
tell us
got our
about
eyes.
the sand in the car.
Oh, yeah, he had a 36 Dodge, and he needed some sand to build a foundation for the chicken coop, I guess.
Of sidewalks in
The
between, the sidewalks.
that led out to the chicken coops. And so he went down to the riverbed, the old Devil's Gate Dam riverbed where the JPL is now. And he rolled down the back windows, then he took a shovel and he filled the whole back of the car with sand. And the car was only a couple of years
Oh,
old.
1936.
Yeah, 36,
Only
it
2
was
years
about
old.
38. And he came home, and as soon as he got all the sand out and swept it out, the rear windows would never roll up again. They were so full of sand, the hinges would just, it sounded
Shot.
terrible. It just ruined the windows. I don't know how, they did close later on.
I guess they did, I don't.
Oh, boy.
Oh,
took
it
a
was
long
ruined,
time
it
to
ruined the
get
car.
sand. And then when the paint
Yeah.
went
Got
out on the car, he would buy a big gallon of paint, and he would take a large paintbrush and he painted the car gray. It was yet
Remember
green.
gray? It was green
Yeah,
before.
he painted it with a paintbrush,
I can
gray,
still-
and it was a very poor looking job, but it covered the car. But he had a
He wasn't
20.
into fashion, huh?
He had a 28 Buick that we had when we were on Marguerite Street. And that's the car he used to go to the bakery in. And it got so old, and the spokes in the wheels got so old and rickety that when he would start up in the morning, the spokes would start moving, and then the rim, it'd grab the rim, and then the rim would start going. And it sounded like a covered wagon going out of the window, out of the driveway. It would creak.
I don't remember that, see, I
Oh, I
wasn't.
remember that so plainly. But
That was in La Cañada?
that was in Lock.
Yeah, I can remember we had it up there.
Yeah. He had that for quite a few years, that
Oh,
old book.
when Keith kicked my knee, you know, he was in the garage, and I wanted him to water the grass. People were coming to look at the house, and he just didn't want to, he didn't want to
Do it. He
do
didn't-
it right then.
He never liked to work.
And he
he
got
said.
on his motorcycle, and I says, "You're not gonna get it out of the garage," so I just
You took a shovel.
pulled the lid, and I got over there where the lock was, and I'll be darned if he didn't kick it.
The board.
And the board came through and hit my knee and nearly broke it.
And you took a shovel
Yeah, I guess I hit
and
it
hit his
right.
headlight. And he said, "What'd you do that
You
for?"
darn fool, what'd you do that for?
Keith wasn't much for working.
No,
was it?
well, he told my dad he hated to sweat. He didn't
Yeah.
like to sweat. So he never.
Yeah, Robert and I did most all the
We
work.
did all the work.
Well, Gladys, you were viciously attacked another time by Jack throwing lemons at you because you invited girls to his surprise birthday party.
Did I
Oh, did
throw
you get
When he was
lemons?
17, he threw lemons
Boy,
at
could he
you.
throw hard. Jack
Yeah.
had a real good arm.
Did you?
Yeah.
And those oranges, lemons would really whistle, come through the air.
So Robert, I think you were always good then?
Yes, I was
Yeah.
always, well, I was somewhat, in a way, the favorite, because I was sick most of the time. I had an operation for a hernia when we moved up there, and so, being that I was skinny,
You
I
were
got most
favored.
of the steak, and my brothers got hamburger. I
Hamburger,
remember most.
cat meat, we got the cat meat.
What we call it cat meat, hamburgers, but I guess that's why I grew taller than they did. I got a little better food.
What do you remember about your mom and dad's relationship with each other?
Well, all I can remember is my mom did a lot of the book work, and on the dining room table, I remember very vividly, on the time we moved to La Cañada, she had an old Victor adding machine that worked by hand.
Still got it.
She still got it.
Antique.
And she was always doing the book work for the bakery. And she did a lot of the banking, taking the money over to Fletcher, I guess it was San Fernando Road.
And Brand Boulevard, the corner.
The old Bank of America.
Yeah.
There, I remember her taking that over there.
Did Arch give you a certain amount of money to run the
No,
household?
he never paid me. I mean, you
But
know,
I mean,
not for any
you must have
bookkeeping.
had an allowance though to
Did you have an
get
allowance?
your.
No, we never did that.
No, you just,
know.
Never had,
Just,
you just, when you needed
Put
money.
it in the bank, and if you need some, write a
That's-
check.
okay,
and
that's how you
just
do it.
keep
Okay, I
that
had a
up.
checking account.
Just hoping you don't run out at the end.
Mhm.
yeah.
But my dad loved goldfish when he lived on Marguerite Street.
And
We had some very
canaries.
prized,
Oh.
and canary birds. Oh, we had a
Canary.
large
I
cage
think it
of
was
canary
relaxing
birds.
for him, wasn't
He
it?
liked the
Yes.
canaries.
And he
Uh-huh.
forgot the fish when we came to
Yeah, La Cañada
Cañada,
didn't
but he
get any fish.
still had a large canary cage.
And he
And
had a
Two
horse
of them,
there,
we had
too.
two. One was kind of vertical,
Yeah.
about 4 feet by 4 feet.
He'd go out every Sunday and buy another bird. They weren't cheap, you know.
No, they were good birds.
Boy, and he had a
And
lot
he-
in that
and-
one
and
cage.
He bought a horse too.
Oh, yes, we had,
Yeah.
well, we started out with two wild horses.
Colts, they were colts. They were going to grow up with us.
They were gonna grow up with us and just
Yeah.
be like tame dogs or cats.
Just, yeah.
And I remember they used to kick the side of the barn.
Barn, he kicked the barn apart. So we
Kicked
got
the
rid
barn
of the first
apart.
night, boy, we got,
So
the
we
next
got
day they
rid
were
of them.
gone.
So we went down to an old riding stable and got a much older horse named Happy, an 8-year-old gelding.
Happy.
And he kind of got to where he would try to snooker us kids, and he didn't want to go anywhere. He didn't want us to ride him. So he'd take his hind leg, and when we'd go up to get on him, he would kind of kick us with that leg. Well, my dad didn't know what to do, so he talked to the neighbor, our old neighbor, Carlo Fia's dad, Mr. Fia, and he was in the World War I in the infantry, and boy, he knew horses, and so my dad invited him to come up to see what he could do. Well, he tried to get on the horse, and the horse did it to him just once, and he took a big hose, a rubber hose, and when he tried it again, he hit the horse on that leg, and he never tried to do that again. Boy, he was just real attentive.
Yeah,
So you
happy.
kids rode the horse then?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we'd ride the horse. We'd get thrown off.
Oh, yeah.
The cousins would come up. Frank Scott would get thrown off. Harold would get thrown off. The horse would buck us off.
Yeah.
We'd just climb right back on it.
What happened to the horse?
Oh, finally
I
it got to
took it
where
back.
we weren't riding it enough.
Enough.
Half price.
Yeah, and they took it back for half price. Mr. Baldridge at
He said, I
Baldridge.
really don't need any horses right now.
But I
But
would
it's
take it off your
one of my
hands.
horses, so I'll take it back.
Yeah.
Poor old Happy.
But,
We rode it quite a bit, but then it
well,
got
you
to where
needed
we
two
didn't.
horses
Yeah.
to be friendly and take a ride side by side.
Yeah.
But we just had the one and it didn't work.
Art,
Go ahead.
Arch liked to have the family over for dinner, didn't he?
Oh,
He
yes,
enjoyed
he loved,
family on
he used to,
Sundays.
he used to tell the Burkharts and the Scotts, why, it'll be no trouble at all. We'll just throw on some potatoes and Mom would cook a big lamb.
Yeah, leg of lamb.
Oh, it was
Oh,
good.
it was good.
And we'd all eat dinner. Sunday
Famous
dinner.
leg of lamb.
Yeah.
Famous leg of
Everybody
lamb.
liked that.
Everybody
You had a
liked
lot
the
of
leg of
fun
lamb.
out on the front lawn there of your house
Oh,
with the
yeah.
family.
We played
Yeah.
football on the front lawn,
Yeah, and the neighbors would all
shoot
be.
bow and arrows.
We hiked a lot.
Yeah, we hiked a lot.
It was called my mother called it the
Badlands.
Badlands.
Yeah.
And there weren't any houses much, and we would go for long, long hikes on the weekend, 10, 12 miles.
Yeah.
Donnie
And,
Scott was with you.
Yeah, Donnie would go with us, and the Burkharts and the Scotts would go
And
with
your
us on these
sisters
hikes.
lived there off and on, and some missionaries, and
Oh,
Grandma
yeah.
Livingston, and Virginia,
Oh,
and
yes.
Dick. and-
My father built him a kind of a pioneer shed in the back there, a little wooden house, and they lived out there, and we had Richard Peel, Virginia's son, and it was just a big happy family. We got a lot of movies of those times, and it was real good times in La Cañada.
You
We
didn't
had
know
a
it
real
right
good
then.
life.
No smog.
It was a real good move from Marguerite Street up to Hill
Yeah.
Street.
Yeah,
It
that was an ideal place to
and an
be.
excellent little elementary school. They would ring the bell every morning at 8 o'clock sharp for as long as I can remember. I came
Remember
up
that
there
8
in the
o'clock?
5th grade, yeah.
Yeah. The bell would ring at 8.
Now, can you tell us a little bit about Arch when he started to get sick? What happened there, Gladys?
when he started to get
Get
sick,
sick.
did you say?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, he was,
He didn't go to the doctor ever,
no,
did
he went to a doctor around the corner who was a Jewish doctor. And he was a skin doctor. He really didn't understand blood pressure and everything, which was wrong with Art. High blood pressure, not too much was known, you know, about it. And I guess working in the bakery so steady and not maybe taking time off occasionally.
Well, diet too. He loved round steak.
Oh,
And loved the fat on the round steak.
Yeah, he loved it in the frying pan. There'd
Lots of cholesterol.
come out greased, and he'd dip a big slice of whole wheat bread in that grease. But nobody those days were
Knew much
talking
about
about
cholesterol.
cholesterol.
No, you know what it was.
Arch was actually an experiment for one of those drugs, wasn't one of the first,
Yeah,
blood pressure medicines.
Diclofenac.
Oh,
because
really?
his, it was
Yeah.
so high that,
His was so high, they brought it down to
Experiment.
285 from 300 with
Really?
medication.
But this doctor, this
285.
skin doctor, he could have given him the right pills and
Yes.
that at the time, but Arch didn't want to get all cleaned up in this suit and go down to a doctor. So he'd go around to Dr. Goldman, and, you know, nice and easy there.
he didn't realize.
And he would treat Arch the best he knew how, tell him to try this and try
Go on
that.
a diet.
Yeah.
But he just plain had a stroke from
Yeah, a
heart
series
trouble.
of little strokes.
Virginia, can you add anything to that?
Yeah. You were close to us all
Or
this
do
time.
you remember being worried about him a lot?
You know,
He was 48 when he first found out he had the high
let's see,
blood
I'm trying
pressure.
to think.
Virginia, why don't you go sit by Robert
Oh,
so I can see you?
oh, you take the limelight now.
Didn't he drink bucca leaves?
Yeah.
Bucca leaves, yeah,
That
that,
was for something in the back.
kidneys,
Backache
Uh-huh.
kidneys.
kidneys, yeah, bucca leaves.
So when did he have his first stroke?
You got the bakery out
It was in
Temple
the
City, wasn't it?
Temple City Bakery. It wasn't, it hadn't been open too
6
long, and he
o'clock.
really hadn't worked a lot, but he came to work, and I was standing by him, I remember.
Oh, you were there.
Yes, I was there, and I remember his eyelid began to kind of droop and flutter, and his speech became slurred. And I noticed his left hand wouldn't function. He was rolling some hamburger buns. And I remember he wasn't aware that it was happening, but we were. It was obvious what was happening.
And Virginia came out in front. I was waiting on people because it was 5 or 6 o'clock at night when it was full.
Mhm.
And you says, I wish you'd go look at Arch. He acts,
See, I can't remember that, you know,
Yeah.
for some reason or another.
you were helping out. You were
Yeah.
just in there.
Yeah.
You weren't married to Robert.
So he never really got to work in the Temple City Bakery much.
Not very long, did it?
No,
You
not
better
very
talk
long
just a
at
little
all.
louder, everybody.
And this was about, well, this was in 1951, 52, 51. We had, well, it was 52 because I'd been married, I was married, Marilyn and I were living in Temple City at the time. And I was working with King Mantell. King, his old baker from Glassell Park, was there.
In your dad's
And-
letters to Jack on his mission, that time he talks about you working in the bakery.
Yeah.
How he'd like you to have.
Yeah. So that was,
So he knew that, when did you know he had a stroke? Did you go?
well,
to
right
the-
then, we knew something was happening.
Did you take him to the doctor then?
Well, Bob Livingston took over.
Yeah, Bob Livingston
He's
took
a
over as his
doctor.
doctor.
My
And,
sister's husband.
And so he.
Was he practicing though then?
Yes, well, no, he was interning down at,
Crossroads?
on Hope Street.
Lutheran Hospital, I think.
That's
Yeah, the
Not a
hospital
Catholic
down
church,
in
it's-
Los Angeles. A Lutheran hospital on Hope.
Lutheran Hospital.
Yeah, on Hope. And so he kind of became his doctor. And, he got better. He kind of lost vision. He couldn't see. He could only see half.
He had to leave the bakery, didn't he?
Yeah, he had to leave
Yeah.
bakery. He never could work again after that. After that day, he never
See,
worked
that
again
killed
in
him,
the
didn't
bakery.
it?
Yeah.
I didn't know that he had.
But he lost a lot of weight, and that seemed to help
And
him.
then Gladys stayed at moved to Temple City with Nancy in an apartment for a
Yes, we
while,
lived
so
in-
that you
yeah.
could run the bakery.
Yes.
And Art stayed home with Margaret and Bob
That's
Livingston
right.
there taking care of him.
Taken
Yeah.
care of.
Oh, gee.
And then Jack, tell about what happened. That was
On my mission?
what you heard when you were on your mission.
Yeah.
Oh, yes, okay.
You were in Brazil.
I was in Brazil. It was September 1953. And I was due to go home about September 25th or so, okay? And I was gonna go by boat, okay, back, because I wanted to really enjoy the boat trip. And so the I was in Ribeirão Preto, which was about 500 miles from the mission home, okay? And I got a telephone call from the mission president. He says, come down immediately. There's a telegram here and it says, your father not expected to live. Fly home. So I canceled out my boat trip and flew by Braniff Airlines home. And when I landed at the airport, I guess it was at LAX or Burbank, I can't remember. Which one was it? Burbank. I called up my mother and I said, is my father dead? And she said, yes, he died the night before. So I just came home in time for the funeral. I never saw my dad alive, you know. The last time I remember seeing my dad was at the Union Pacific train station in Salt Lake when I was getting on the train to go to New York, where I got a boat and went down to South America, down to Brazil. And he gave me my little leather case that I had, suitcase that carried shaving cream and things like that. And I can remember giving it, he was crying when he gave it to me. And then the train pulled out and I waved, and that was the last time I saw my father
Was that
alive.
1951?
That was 51.
I think
1951.
we should read this one little line from the last letter that Arch wrote to you, Jack, when you were on your mission, which was June 20th, 1953, and he was
Oh,
gone
September.
3 months later. And this is the last of many letters that Jack still has in his possession, but in it he said, he said, you, Jack, said not to forget you while you're gone. You boys mean more to me than life itself does, so I won't forget you. It won't be long before you are home. Which is interesting.
No.
You
That
mean
was
more
his-
to me
Now,
than
what
life
month was
itself,
that?
and then he was gone 3
When was
months
this,
later.
Jack?
June.
That
June
was in
1951.
53. That was 53, that letter.
Oh,
He
what?
says, Robert has been living here and the place sure looks nice. Robert plans on making $50,000 a year when he becomes a dentist. I hope he won't be disappointed. That's a lot of money. I hope you stay well and happy through the rest of your mission, and I am sure you will. I will close now and send my love and best wishes to you, Dad.
He never knew I got into dental school.
But he knew you
Never
were
knew.
gone too.
But
Yeah.
he saw you studying.
Yeah.
He really did
He used to
go.
come when I was studying at John
Upstairs.
Muir. No, I was in the north bedroom. I'd go
Okay.
in the north bedroom and
Uh-huh.
I'd study in there until I couldn't stay awake any longer. I'd work a graveyard at Lockheed. So I went to school from 8 to noon, to 12 noon. Then I'd go to the library and study till 2:30 till I couldn't stay awake any longer. And then I'd come home and sometimes read a little bit in the north bedroom. And he'd always come in and talk to me. And
Well, as we read through these letters the other night, I really had the sense that he was very fulfilled, as a father and with the kids, because
Yeah.
he saw that his boys, he was very involved with Keith being in the Air Force in his letters, and had written to Keith a lot. And Jack on the mission, you would just come home from the mission and you
Going to
were
school.
married and going to school, and he saw everything was in progression.
Jean was married.
And Jean was
Jean was
married.
married, had been
So
married.
he, at least he got to see into that second stage of life where his kids were progressing. So he didn't die with any worries about his kids, which I think, any specific
Real
worries,
worry,
which
yeah.
was
Yeah.
nice.
And then maybe, I think if you could, Mother, you tell me whether this is correct, but when they had stake conference, they would say all fathers who have, or the parent, I guess the parents, who have 3 sons on a mission stand up? Well, of course, nobody stood up. How many have 2 on a mission? And of course, he could stand up because Robert and I were on a mission
together.
for several months.
Yeah, for quite a few years.
Several months. So he, at the old Burbank Steakhouse, he would stand up, and that was a lot of pride for him to be able to stand up. 2 sons on a mission.
Gladys, I guess you felt really lost for when Arch died. I mean, of course, he would have been an invalid for a little while there, but you certainly did pick up the pieces and pitched in and did a lot to keep yourself and the family going. You were a real worker.
You had the bakery for a while, didn't you?
Yeah.
We ran the bakery in
Yeah,
Temple City.
you mean the one in Temple City, yes. I'd go early and come home after 8 o'clock.
How many years did you have the Temple City Bakery?
Very
About
long.
2.
2 years is all.
The people,
It was getting.
somebody came and bought it, and I was sure glad.
And you
because-
dumped it in what year? 1955 or
Let's see.
19?
I came home in '53, and I worked in the bakery in the '54. You had it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, then I went in the Army, and you still had it.
Yeah.
I guess you sold it.
Keith was gone, and I
Oh,
was
I had
in
taken,
school by then.
Yep.
So I
I'd
guess you
taken
sold
him downtown in LA. I didn't know the streets or anything, but he hopped out of the car and away he went in the Army.
Oh,
Office.
yes, the office
US
where I was
Army.
sworn in.
And I thought, my gosh, he just got home from a mission, you know, and not much.
Well, one of Arch's greatest concerns, the only one he really expresses in these letters, is that his boys would not have to go to war. That was really
Yeah, that
a
really
big fear.
worried him.
Yeah.
So he was
None
happy
of his
that
boys had to go to
no,
war.
they
Well,
did look
actually,
at- you were
I,
off too.
Joe Fries, who was our bishop, called us all in to his office. He was head of the draft board along with the Mrs. Montgomery. And he said, now I'm going to have to, he says, Mrs. Montgomery's a Catholic and she doesn't like Mormon boys coming home and not going into the service. So he said, I'm afraid I'm going to have to, 2 of you are going to have to go in the service. And I says, okay, are we running again?
Running again.
You know,
Right,
Chad,
okay.
his smile reminds me so much of Arch, I can't get over it.
Yeah.
It does, it does
We
look.
look more and more like our parents as we get older.
Yes, we definitely look.
Yeah.
Reminds me of- Oh, it's going.
It's running again.
It's
Yes.
running
Where were
again.
we when we left off? Yes.
Well,
Well, Gladys,
Well,
you've had a really long, good
eventful.
life.
Be very eventful.
Yeah.
I should say, a lot of.
Yes. She had perfect children that never gave her a minute's
Yeah.
trouble.
Trouble. I know it.
And you've
Yeah.
had,
Not
So
bad
young.
trouble, no.
No, not
you've
really.
had, I don't know anybody that's had more friends than you've had either, Gladys. Everybody's
Yes.
loved
Well,
you.
Had a lot of
I like
primary
people.
teacher friends.
That's what's wrong with me now. I have to live alone. And I like people.
Yeah, you do like people. Yeah.
I even hear when she was first married, she had to have somebody come home and, because she was lonely. Do you remember that? Aunt
No.
Virginia used to have to go down and get Dad to bring him up the house because you were lonely.
I know one time you were really down, and Arch understood, you know, just a young gal,
Yeah,
Lady home.
homesick, homesick.
and you says, go and tell Arch I don't feel good. You just wanted him, you
Somebody
know,
to be
and he
home
had to
with
be
you.
there. Yeah, the bakery gone a long time.
Did you miss Utah when
And you didn't
first
know
came to
anybody.
California?
Yeah.
I missed your folks and your
Yes,
sisters.
it was.
Yeah,
everything
you
was
were taken
different.
away from all your sisters and your brothers.
Yeah.
You had a lot of your family come down and stay with you though, didn't
Little
you?
by
Your
little.
sisters,
Yeah, they didn't.
you know, they'd come and visit for a while.
Once my dear Aunt Belle came, Mother's oldest sister. Oh, she just thought that California was really wonderful. And
It was
she had a very sad life.
You know,
It seems like everybody has.
In those
Yeah,
days,
like
they
people
were all
keep
sad.
themselves-
Oh.
Her
yeah.
boy was
Like the
a
hospital.
Japanese prisoner for 40 months, something like that.
That's right. He was in the Bataan Death
And
March.
they were, yes, that, and then they were dropping
You could
bombs
jump
on
in.
them.
Do you want to jump in now, Marilyn? Jump in.
Okay,
I think we
Marilyn?
said it all.
Well,
Well,
well, I think that's it. We can
just
stop.
let me say one thing. I
Okay.
had a very
Jenny has,
wonderful brother.
yeah, Arch.
He was just an angel. And I had married a wonderful gal, and she's been my best friend.
Been friends a long
A
time.
good, sweet gal.
yeah,
That's his.
never had a quarrel.
Nope. After 60 odd years.
Yeah, you have been good friends.
Yes,
You were
she's
very
been-
close to the
Yeah.
She's
family.
been a good friend to me,
Yeah.
I'll tell you.
And we have good in-law girls too.
Yeah.
These two here.
Yeah, the two, and Gertie,
And your
the
mother,
Yeah,
daughter-in-laws.
it's just,
Mom,
I didn't get to be around her too much, but what I saw was the best.
just wonderful relationships all the way around.
Okay, you can stop it, I guess, Jim.
Jim, you didn't know what you were getting into.